E39 Source, hello and welcome. It's the first day of February 2015. Winter is really hitting us hard right now in the Northeast. Here's the snowblower. I was behind this thing about 4 hours today. We've got over 20 inches of snow or so in the middle of my front yard. Anyhow, looking at some weather, it's currently about 34 degrees outside. Looking at the AccuWeather 15-day or the weather.com 10-day, that is as warm as it's going to be for the next month or several weeks at least. So I'm thinking that we're going to do a couple things here today. We're going to do a little M5 update since it's been stored. I think I stored this car on November 7th or November 11th, 2014. I have touched it maybe twice or 3 times since then. So one, we're going to pull the cover, check everything, make sure we don't, well, look underneath, look for extensive fluid leaks, any rodents or tarantulas inside the car. And then in the update portion of the video, we will address anything that I've done with the car recently. If you see some camera shaking, it's due to cold temperatures out here, and I'm not really wearing a jacket as it's still my garage. So one of the first things I did here after the last video was made was I installed this, or I bought this battery charger thanks to an E39 Source viewer. So this is a C-Tech multi-US, it's a 3300 model, if we can get that in focus there. And it was fairly inexpensive, and it's been a really good battery charger so far as I can tell. I haven't started the car, I haven't done anything like that. I've got it in winter mode right now, indicating sub I think they said 42 degrees in the instructions, and the green light is indicating that it does have a fully charged battery. This isn't a review or promotion of the product in any way, but it simply plugs in to a 110 line right there. And then we're going to go ahead and pull the cover here. If I can find the strap, I don't even remember what side it's on. I'll show you how I have it connected to the battery. There's a couple ways you can do it. It comes with some gator claws, so you could just use the gator clamp and stick that on top of the battery terminal in the trunk. Or if you're looking for something a little more substantial, you can use the eyelets. Anybody that knows me probably knows that I went with the eyelets. So it's totally hidden in the trunk. It fits in between the trunk and the bottom lip here when closed very well, not too tight. It's not putting any stress on the cable. Then I have it wired underneath here, underneath all of the carpeting. I haven't been in this car now, I haven't touched it in about 6 weeks, so it's kind of nice to get back to this. But here is the connector where you would unplug it. Say I wanted to drive it right now, I could just press that and then it'll come apart right here. And then the eyelets just go under the battery cable and onto the battery itself. I just took that little 10mm nut off, put the eyelet on there and tightened it down. So that's the battery setup. Aside from that, nothing's changed with the car. I haven't done anything. Actually, I lied. I bought a 2015 Mark IV DVD professional navigation DVD, both the East and West Coast discs. That'll be coming in the mail here in the next few days. I still have the 2013 DVD in there right now. I bought the 2015, being 2 years newer, and rumor has it, it's the last DVD that will be produced for the Mark IV computer. So I wanted to go ahead and get that. It's only 15 bucks on eBay. It's actually really cool to see the back of an M5 again. I saw Luke's a couple weeks ago, but I miss Silverstone. I miss this car a ton. Absolutely no regrets at this point storing it for the winter though. Keeping it nice and clean and as rust-free as I can in the garage. I would absolutely not want to take this car out and drive it in the kind of weather that we're having. Even right now, it would not be able to get out of my driveway in the kind of weather we're having right now. The E46 has been a blast in the snow, really humdrum otherwise, but the XI in the snow is fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and pull the rest of the cover off here. And I think we are going to give it a start. So this is going to be controversial. Did a ton of research on starting cars after they've sat for a few months. A lot of people are saying that it would be wise to say pull a fuel pump fuse, pull some sort of a fuse, otherwise disable the engine from starting. Let it crank for a couple seconds. That's going to cycle some oil around the engine, get the oil back up on top. When I stored it, I checked the engine oil level. It was halfway up the dipstick. About 6-8 weeks ago, I pulled the hood open, I checked the oil level, it was all the way up at the fill line. So it's all drained down into the sump, which means If we do start this car in this video here in a few minutes, we're gonna have a hell of a lot of noise. Valve clatter probably, we're gonna have timing chain noise in addition to Vanos noise. It's gonna sound really bad. You know what though? This car has never sat a winter. It's been babied by me more than anybody. It's time that it gets used a little bit. And not even used, but started. A car should be able to start. This is a BMW M5. This is a $79,000 car. 15 years ago, yes, in fact its birthday is the day after tomorrow, February 3rd, 2000 is its production date. But yeah, so I think we're just gonna get in there, turn the key, and let it attempt to start. Now, people were saying right after it starts, give it a few RPMs. 2,000 maybe for a couple seconds. That's just going to force some oil pressure and force some oil back up in the top of the engine. I'm not against that idea. 2,000 RPM isn't too hard. So I think that's what we're going to do. Preparation for that, I'm going to finish getting the cover up on top of the car and out of the way, and then I'm going to pull the pieces of newspaper out of the exhaust. That would obviously be in poor taste if I left those installed. And it is getting cold, I'm starting to shake. Let's go ahead and do a little visual inspection first. I've just left the car unlocked the whole time. Looks like the lights still work. Let's give it a hood pull. It smells really good. It smells like nice leather and Zano. So that's good. Before I do start it, we're gonna check just a couple things to make sure there's been no excessive fluid leaks. That's not popping out like it should. That's a little tight. Start off with coolant. Coolant level, perfect. Oil level, I'm gonna need 2 hands and a dipstick and a shop towel for that, so I'll check that in a moment. Power steering fluid, it's a problem on this car, it leaks. I'm having the lines replaced in the spring. I don't really need the fluid and there's enough in there, it won't hurt anything. I'm not gonna mess with that. So I'm gonna check oil, pull those things out of the exhaust, and give it a shot. Everything checked out under the hood, it's right at the top level of the fill indicator. One thing I've kind of tried to do since the car's been stored is about once a month I like to pop the hood and just turn the fan. Since it's an old style fan and fan clutch, I just take it and move it 180 degrees. My thought process is there's oil in the fan clutch. Kind of want to let it saturate down here, let it soak up here, just so it doesn't go through the process like when it's new. It's been sitting on a shelf, you start it, and the clutch essentially doesn't work at all for quite a while. I just don't want to put the hood and the fan at risk of blowing up, so probably not a bad idea. Those things are still tight, that's good. No critters up there. I am going to disconnect the charger for an attempted start, and I'm going to do that in the way I mentioned before, which is just going to be this. Of course, that's out of the way now. We're just going to pinch that and pull, and you'll see it comes right apart like that. And then we'll move the whole thing out of the way. Indicating now that it's not charging, of course, so we'll just unplug it. I'm going to crack the garage door, just so we don't asphyxiate with exhaust. There is a little look at what we've got outside. I've snow blown it twice. The first time I took off about 8 inches, the last time about 3. So you can do some math on that. Let's get the official temperature readings for it to start today. We're at 38 Fahrenheit inside, 29 outside. So I don't want to really open the door any more than that. I can back the car up to the door to get the exhaust out. Such a nice place to be. I miss things in here. I've left the car in neutral just to avoid any stress on the springs that return it to neutral. So, wow. Short, tight clutch in comparison to the 330. We're gonna put a key in. It's gonna sound so bad though. It's gonna sound so bad. Here we go. And it lives. Let's move some oil around. That didn't sound nearly as bad as I thought. Wow. Oh, that isn't bad at all. It's gonna pulsate rev here a little bit, as it always does on startup. I think most E39 M5s do that as they go from 1,000, it's already dipping. 1,000 RPM to 500. Holy crap, this thing's been sitting for months. That doesn't sound bad at all. Yeah, it's revving itself here as it idles down. Little bit of Vanos noise. Not bad at all. I'm impressed. Oh, that smells good. Oh, I'm excited. I'm ready for spring. That smells excellent. The smell of 93 octane. I don't really hear any bad noises. I think I was more worried than I needed to be. So we're in a few minutes now. Of course there's a wind now pushing the exhaust back into the garage, which it's 10 o'clock. If that sets the smoke alarm off, that's not going to be pretty. So I open the door up a little more. I'm debating backing the car up or getting some sort of a fan. I gave it a few revs here to about 1500 RPM, which it seemed to sound absolutely fine at. The LEDs are starting to shut themselves off as we speak. Let me refocus the T5i. I did turn on my heated seat in the sport mode just for a little bit of enhanced throttle. It's indicating 36 degrees. We're gonna keep it under probably 2, even 3 for this whole startup, but let's fold the mirrors out. That's the other thing I've kind of done as I've come out to the car this winter, is I just kind of exercise some of the components. We'll flip the windows down, let those motors do a little bit of work. Everything still works perfectly fine. Let the mirror actuators work, seat motors, good for the nav screen to warm up, stuff like the sunroof. You know, it gets babied way too much, that's just my car cover. But I can't imagine that it would not be good for these motors to just see a little bit of activity after a few months. Alright, I got a level, I gotta say it. This car is freaking amazing, and you don't appreciate it until you don't touch it for a while. Everything in here, the leather, the door handles, the steering wheel, the gauge cluster, the sound system, the exhaust, the clutch, the transmission, the seats, the headliner, the mirrors. Everything in here is absolutely fantastic. Look at that, it's slightly warming up here. I pulled the K-temp up, it's test 7 on high OBC. It's 69 degrees Celsius. It's a 79 degree thermostat, so we'll probably let it get to about that. I would love to let the oil warm up, but that takes quite a while even at driving at these temperatures. So I don't think that's going to happen. And I was mentioning the sound system. I've plugged my iPhone into auxiliary since my Bluetooth is not in here currently. I did move the car back about 2 or 3 feet, I think. I'm rather embarrassed to say that DSC came on in that process. Reason being, the 330 requires about 3/4 throttle to get it to move. Oh no, look, oil and power steering fluid. What do you know? I know about the power steering fluid leak, and the oil leak is actually not really coming from the engine as much as it's coming from my mishap last year when, I actually don't even know if I told you guys, I had the oil cap off, I put it back on, only half of it seated, and I had oil all over the place. I can smell it burning a little bit. So that's still residual drippage in the engine. As far as I know, there's not really any sort of an oil leak, just dripping out of the pans. The power steering leak, as I mentioned before, will be addressed. So I moved the car back. 330 requires so much throttle to get it to go. The M5, tiny bit of clutch, tiny bit of throttle, and it's off the plastic. So I'm sure it's good for those tires to finally rest on a new piece of rubber on the bottom part. And I think I'm just gonna let this thing run for a little bit. Getting the exhaust outside. Sounds good. The Vanos, it's making a little bit more noise now that it's warmer, but it's nothing that would concern me at all. It sounds just like it did before. It's been perhaps 25 minutes. The K-temp, according to test 7, reached 79 degrees for a moment, then went back to 78. It's cold out here, car isn't moving. That seems pretty normal. It's down to 75 now, that's not normal. I have a new thermostat OEM in my basement that we're gonna be installing in the spring. So that'll be good to have that done. This is probably gonna be about it. I'm gonna move the car back up in the garage. We can take a listen. I've had it no higher than about 3,000 RPM. Sounds good, feels good. Seems like I don't have anything to be worried about. Nice, smooth, steady idle. Maybe we can do this a little smoother this time. Let's get the auxiliary out of the way. Just the clutch is so tight. I'm gonna have to totally relearn how to drive this car. Look at that. There's like no movement on that. Oh man, this is not pretty. It's better than before. I think that's about where I want it. I've been leaving the brake off. It just sits here. So I think that's going to be the startup for February and the update with the M5 here in February. Still same mileage, of course, 188,026. Hoping I can drive the car though come, really I would love for the end of March to clear up. It's got to be over 40 degrees before I take it out on the roads. The roads need to be dry, and the biggest thing is I don't want any salt, which means we're going to need several days of rain and then no snow after that. So it's going to be a long process, I fear, but we should be able to make it happen. It's back up at 79 degrees. We're just going to give it another couple minutes here. If you can notice, the oil is, I don't want to pull the test up. I don't remember what number it is. I think it's 10 or 16 or something. It's right in between that first dot and the warm 210. We're at 80 degrees Celsius now. These thermostats are finicky in this car. I'm going to put a new one in there. I got the Bear down to 79. So we're going to do a thermostat, coolant flush. We're doing brake work. Come spring, we got new front OEM rotors, Hawk HPS pads. If you remember last fall, we did OEM rotors and Hawk HPS pads back here, so same treatment up front. Then we're doing all 4 ECS stainless steel brake lines and a brake fluid flush. That'll be really nice. We're replacing these mirrors due to some body corrosion here. I already have the new mirrors in my basement, just need to have them painted. We'll have DIYs on the E39 M5 mirror repair or replacement. There's what came out of the exhaust. And what else are we doing? Tires are going to be good this year. Suspension's good. Knock on wood, which I don't have. Engine should be good for a while. At least short term here in Ohio. And that's probably going to be a lot of enjoying it. And I can't wait to just... I miss the whole Zano process. I'm such a detail nerd when it comes to that. But I want a warm, nice night. I'll come out here with some Z6 and Z8 and just go at it. So we're going to shut her down now, wrap this video up, clean up the garage floor, and move on. Probably the next time the car starts, it will be driven, hopefully in March. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll talk in the future. Definitely more content to come on the car. It's just going to be a little while. Bye-bye.